Welcome to Smacky's Garage. Today we're going to be talking about how to build AN or stainless braided fuel lines. We're going to build some for this car. The plan was originally to get it started this week, but up in the Northeast here right now, it is currently 15 degrees out with wind chill down to negative 40 or 50 tonight, so it's not going to be running. So this week we're going to be going through exactly how to build AN fuel lines that are the right length for your car. And we're gonna look at some of the tools that I use that make it much easier. So let's talk about why we're using braided fuel line. So you have options of what you could use. You can just get a stainless line with no rubber inside it. You can get a rubber fuel hose, or you can use stainless. So I think they actually have Kevlar and other materials over the rubber too that you can get. Now, one of the reasons why I'm picking this braided fuel line for my car specifically is because, there are two big benefits from it. The first benefit is it's really resistant to abrasion. When you have this in a vehicle that's not stock and it's rubbing around and potentially could hit something, you don't want that to happen on a rubber hose, but on a stainless hose, not as big of a problem. Second aspect is the corrosion resistance of it. So it's also very good at kind of resisting corrosion from the outside. So those are the two main reasons why I am starting to use it on my car. So I need to build two lines. I need to build one that's going for the return of the tank because it's a return system. And then the second line that I need to build is coming from here, which is the fuel filter, to the inlet of my Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start by building this one. Now, to figure out how long I want that line to be, I'm actually going to end up screwing one side in. So you always build one side first. Leave it a little bit long so you can run it from location to location. Now that that side's in there, I need to mark this on where it's gonna end up. So to do that, I'm gonna end up using blue tape, and I'm gonna wrap it pretty tight. I'm gonna wrap it on the tighter side because I wanna make sure that this braiding, as I cut it, does not spread out. So now with this here, I'm gonna line this up where I want it. I'm gonna end up cutting pretty much directly in the center. Now, there are many different connector styles that you could use. There's kind of ones that reverse. You have 90-degree elbow ones. You have complete 180s. You have different sizes. You have the anodized ones here. You have just standard black ones. I like the anodized ones for locations that are visible. Black ones are good too. For this, we're just gonna end up using the black set. I'm gonna take this fitting with me because it's the one I'm gonna end up using. Now, there's really three different tools that you can use, and probably more, to cut the cable. So what I typically would go to is a cutoff wheel. So cutoff wheels are good for this because they spin so fast that it's not gonna fray the cable as you're cutting it. The other, you can use some sort of cable cutter. This also works. And the last is kind of a hacksaw. If you're using a hacksaw, you really need to make sure that the blade is sharp and that it's going to cut through smoothly. You don't want to get anything hung up. So you need to make sure you're using the right blade for it too. So something with a high tooth count on it. I'll say my preference when I'm doing this is I actually like to use the cutoff wheel when I'm doing the smaller hoses. On the bigger hoses, I'll typically go to this if it fits, maybe something around an 8. If it's anything larger than the hose I just cut, I'll end up using the hacksaw. And that's mainly because it's easier to get through a much larger hose with a hacksaw than trying to go around with a cutoff wheel or trying to find some cable cutters that'll work. Now, this happens to be one of my favorite new tools when I'm putting together these AN fittings. So I purchased the one with 3 different sizes. This one is for a 6, this one is for an 8, and then this one is for a 10. This helps putting them together just essentially to make sure that you're not going to get any splinters or stainless steel wire in your hand. They actually come apart, and what you do is you take it apart. After you've taken it apart, you take the fitting that you're going to use, then you place it inside the tool. You put this on the other side so that it doesn't push out. Then we're going to close it. And we'll go ahead, I'm going to take it, I'm going to clamp it in place. so that it's not gonna move. After that's in there, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna push it and rotate it in. So you can feel it go in nice and smoothly. You can see it as it's made its way in. So I'm gonna push it in, I'm gonna do a few rotations, and I'm gonna remove it from this tool. Now you can see it is where it should be. It's on the edge by that lip, and this looks like it was crushed a little bit, so I'm actually gonna use a tool to open it up. Probably just gonna use an Allen wrench, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this in. With this inserted, you know, you can buy tools that will hold this so it doesn't scratch it up when you put it in. But I'm just gonna use a paper towel right now just to hold this as I push it in. One of the important things to note while you do this is you wanna make sure you keep an eye on the hose down here to make sure that it's not pushing out while you tighten this. What I will typically do is I'll put my hand here, or finger here, as I'm tightening this to see if I can feel any motion downward, just so that I don't need to be down there watching it. But I'll be able to kind of turn this with a wrench, and while I'm turning this, I'll be feeling for any movement with this finger. So finger down there, wrench around, and I'll twist, and I'm feeling to see if there's any motion for that hose. I can tell it's not pushing out, which is good, so that means it's clamping in place. Now that I'm clamped in place, the hose can come out. Now, after you end up building this, the last step, and which is really important, is actually to clean it out. So I like to take an air compressor and just blow through both ends, just to make sure that there's no debris at all left in the hose. Now we can put it on. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this end in first, and this will come right after. Now with that, you can see I can set this, and I'm pretty much gonna have a perfect fitting fuel hose from my fuel filter up to my regulator. Now I'll go ahead and I'll make the smaller hose that's gonna run from the return line to the tank. Okay, you can see all the hoses are in. So we have the return line here, and then we have the feed line here. So everything's good. This will end up protecting it from anything that might fly up from the wheels, because there's actually no wheel arches here. So everything is open to those. So anything the wheels pick up, rocks, anything will get thrown up into there or more towards the back. Well, that's it. That's how easy it is to build fuel lines for your car. So with that, I need to get back to work on the car, try to get it ready so I can get it running in the next week or two. Hopefully it warms up some. Thanks for tuning in to Smacky's Garage. I'll see you next time.